Hey guys, welcome back to ADHD Answers, our weekly Facebook Live that happens every Monday at noon. Today we are going to be taking our normal Q&A right after we talk about today's topic, which is, will my ADHD go away? Or will my child's ADHD ever go away? Because I think it's a common misconception that it kind of goes away in adulthood, and that kind of was the understanding of it years and years and years ago, that it was just going to work itself out. So today we'll get into that. And before we start, I'll wait for a few of the people to drop in, take a sip of water, and some housekeeping. We started our second ADHD strengths and conditioning class last Wednesday, and today is the first full week of our second class. Our first class is totally full, filled up very first day, or before the first day actually. The second class, we have 2 spots left. If you have an ADHDer and you know that they will benefit from some movement and some exercise, as well as some other like-minded ADHDers, shoot me a message, email, however you want to get hold of me, and let me know you're interested. And that class is every Monday and Wednesday at 4 o'clock. I don't know that we're going to open up a second class, so these may be the last 2 spots for a while. Excuse me, I don't know if we're going to open a third class for a while. So if you're interested, or you have a friend that may be interested, or you know someone that would benefit from it, give them my contact information, and we can get them taken care of. All right, so let's jump into our topic for today, which is, will my ADHD ever go away? And it's kind of like a yes and no. So it was a common belief, a common misconception that once an ADHD child got to a certain age, their ADHD symptoms went away. They didn't deal with those same kinds of issues. However, what we know now is that that's not the case at all. And what we see more and more often is the ADHDer is growing up and learning how to control their ADHD symptoms and manage their symptoms just enough where they're not being showcased as often as they were if they were a child, or as when they were a child, excuse me. So most people are pretty surprised when I tell them that I have ADHD, because I have things that look like they're very well managed and in control, and everything, is structured just the way that I like it. And more often than not, people can't see the behind the scenes things that are going on that help everything run smoothly, and things that I've learned to put in place to not showcase those things. And those have been very, very intentional. However, more often than not, just like with any diagnosis, we learn to adapt and we learn to cope with whatever's going on, just enough to kind of be undetectable. And we can usually, most people kind of get away with that for their entire life. I don't know that I've ever thrown out this statistic before. However, 50% of the American population will at one time have a mental health diagnosable disorder. So you viewers, at one time in your life will probably have a diagnosable disorder. And that can range from anything, and we don't need to get into the weeds about this, but just for your own comfort, that can be anything as far as depression, anxiety, ADHD, postpartum depression, dementia, Alzheimer's, God forbid, anything at all. And so the vast majority of us learn to cope. The vast majority of us learn to skate by. The vast majority of us learn just enough so that other people don't know what's going on. And that's exactly what's happening with us, with the ADHDers, as we are not put into that position in school where where all of our weaknesses are showcased on a daily basis. We can usually, there's no one standing over our shoulder making sure we're hitting stuff, getting stuff right, turning stuff in on time. And more often than not, we will find and gravitate towards jobs, hopefully, that accommodate us. Not all the time, but more often than not, we will find jobs and I would even say the vast majority of the time, they're not jobs that fit us perfectly 100% every time. They're jobs that can accommodate us a little bit for us just to continue to get by. So the answer is, will my ADHD ever go away? Is no, it won't. This is a neurological issue, an issue within the neurology of our brain, an issue that affects how our neurons fire together to communicate to different parts of our brain. It's a chemical imbalance is not really the right word. It's a chemical deficiency of dopamine and norepinephrine. And I've spoken on that numerous times in relation to exercise. So these things won't ever just go away. It's not like everything, balances itself out. However, there are ways to, like I said before, cope, position ourselves to be successful, position ourselves to not showcase things that we're not good at. And by and large, it kind of looks like, yeah, maybe he doesn't have ADHD anymore, but there's still other things running in the background that keep everything running as smoothly as possible in our day-to-day lives. So I don't know if that's helpful or hurtful or harmful it's probably not that comforting to the parents with ADHDers that are greatly struggling with their children. However, it's not to me that's like the easy answer. I think it's like, oh well, we'll just wait it out until it kind of goes away, and that's not the answer at all. The answer is that we need to figure out how we can best position our child or ourselves to be successful. Whether that's, you can see the height of this camera. I'm standing. Before this, I was standing at the standing desk doing work. That is a position that if I am in, I can be focused, dialed in, and successful. And before I had this awesome standing desk that I have right now, it was just a bunch of boxes and books stacked. And that's how I did my work. So we have to find things that can position us to be successful so that our ADHD, so our weaknesses are not showcased, because then it's hard to be happy. That's what I found, especially with myself and in my practice. It's very hard to be happy when you're constantly struggling. And no one wants that, ADHD or otherwise. We all want things to be smooth and easy. And those things can happen if and when we are positioning ourselves to be successful. So I would encourage you to reframe how we're thinking about, will my ADHD go away, or will my child's ADHD go away, and reframe that question to a question of, what can I do to better position my ADHDer to be successful? And those are things that we've talked about in previous episodes, and you guys can go back and look at those, and they can be simple things like things I just said, standing desk. That's what works for me. It can be things that career-wise, counseling really, really interested me. It was easy for me in school, so that's what I gravitated towards. I really love strength and conditioning, and I own a gym, and I'm running the strength and conditioning class for ADHD children. I became the expert in Roanoke on ADHD because that really interested me. And for like 6 months to a year, I read as many books on ADHD as I could get my hands on. I'd listened because I'm not a great reader. So I have an Audible account, and I just consumed all these books. And that was the best way for me to take in information, was to hear it. If you had, given me all those books for free and said, here you go, I would not be the expert. I'd probably still be working on the second one, because reading I get distracted. It's boring. But listening, I can do when I'm doing other things. I can listen to it most of the time when I'm driving. I can listen to audiobooks when I'm doing the dishes or cleaning the house or doing work that doesn't require a lot of thought. So position yourself and position your children for success. And those positions will start showing themselves. And you have to have a watchful eye of, okay, this is really easy for him, or this is easier for me when I do it this way. And we can find those hints and clues to what we're really good at and how we flow best. And that can be, anything. That can be, I know I keep using this example of a standing desk. That can be that. I didn't start standing because I knew that would happen. I started standing because my hips were really tight from working out so much and then sitting in the car all day. And it kind of clicked like, whoa, I'm so much more productive when I'm standing. So it can be anything like that, as long as we're looking into them and we're mindful. And I would encourage, if you do have children, you're not watching this for yourself, I would highly encourage you to tap your children and say, there's going to be stuff that's really easy for you. You should be on the lookout as well. I'm going to, as the parent, I'm going to be on the lookout for you, but you look out as well, and we can work together and find what you're really, really good at. If I knew what I knew now when I was in high school, man, things would be, cake. It would be easy. And that's what I'm trying to give to you guys. But, there's no one size fits all for all ADHDers or all people. So you have to do some of the legwork yourself, because I can't put all of you under a microscope and just say, oh man, this is where, you can hit that flow. This is where you're going to be your best self. You guys have to do that legwork on your own. So keep an eye out on those things that your kids just seem to slide right into, that absorbs their attention, that helps them be more productive, and make mental notes of, he's really, really good when he does, this, or when this is in place, he is more successful. He or she is very successful. And take notes and then see, okay, how can we structure a life around these things that he or she is really good at or does really well with. And that, training them now especially before they get to college where they're on their own, giving them those tools now before they're in the real world will set them up for a lifetime of success. I mean, we're really front loading everything, all of this work now, because when they get in the real world, it's like we're jogging and then somebody says we're on a treadmill and someone ramps it up to like 20 miles an hour and you're just going. And that's no time to figure things out when you're in that sprint. Eventually you kind of find a pace, but right away it's easy to stumble and fall. That's all I have for that topic of ADHD going away. What questions do you guys have? I didn't see any in my in the comment section of the photo that I posted this morning. But if you guys have any questions about what I just talked about, if you have any questions about really anything at all, I am all ears and I will get it answered. If I don't have the answer, I know where to find it, or I will know where to find it, or who to ask. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to shoot out some questions if you have them. If you don't have them, I guess that's a good thing. I guess if you don't have questions, it's a good thing that you have everything that you need right now. So that's good. And I see there's a few people watching. What topics do you want to hear in the future? I'm kind of using a search engine to find popular topics that I think will interest you guys, but I really don't know. I'm kind of shooting in the dark. Is there anything in particular you want me to devote an entire Monday to, or I'll just keep doing what I'm doing? So let me know in the comments, email me, message me, whatever you want, and I'll get it taken care of. All right. It looks like no comments, no questions, no concerns. That's a good thing. I hope you guys have everything that you need. All right. I will check out. Just a reminder, there are 2 spots. Oh, we do have a question. The question is on high functioning autism. Is my focus the same? I actually, in my practice, I don't actually see any children on the spectrum. That is very far removed from my specialty. I'm solely ADHD. I know there is some overlap and crossover. However, I'm purely looking into ADHD, and a lot of my expertise is just personal experience. And because I'm not on the spectrum, it's really hard for me to kind of dive in and really know what's going on in their heads. A lot of my ADHDers, I can see their face and and they may not be able to express what they're feeling, but by their facial expressions, I know how they feel. So would my focus be the same? There's, I'm trying to remember, there's a book, and now I can't remember it, all about similar things about having a child on the spectrum and looking at their strengths. I don't see why not. I have a saying in my practice that being strong is never a weakness. And I don't see a scenario on the spectrum, having depression, being anxious, having ADHD. I can't see a scenario where you really play to your child's strengths and it doesn't work out. You know what I mean? So I think if we can find everyone's strengths and we can position them to, really lean into those things, they can be wonderful and great at a few things as opposed to just average at a lot of things. I always kind of make the analogy of if your car was a lot of symptoms of ADHD, yeah. I always make the analogy of like a car. Like if your transmission broke, you wouldn't take your car to, if you had the option, take it to a transmission specialist, someone that only deals with transmissions of your make and model. You wouldn't take it to, your neighbor or some garage on the street, and they were like, yeah, whatever, we can probably fix it. So we want to make our kids and help our kids to be specialists where they are really, really good at one thing or a few things. And that sets them up really well for the future, especially with where we're headed in our society of specialists and being really good and all that stuff. So yeah, I hope that I answered your question. I'll look for that book and I will see if I can't comment in this message and tag you in it, Julia, and see if I can't find that answer for you. The ADHD is the biggest roadblock. So I guess, the question becomes, and it may be something where, we can't figure this out right now. I'd have to meet him and we'd have to talk where, like how much of, the diagnosis of him being on the spectrum is getting in the way of the ADHD. And if the ADHD is really the primary diagnosis, then yes, my approach would be the same because it's all strengths, and we can play with those strengths, and so it's kind of like a case by case basis, especially when we complicate things with an ASD diagnosis. So I hope that answers your question. So yeah. Anyone else have any other questions? I would love to do an episode on the overlap of autism and ADHD. The more and more I look into that overlap, the more and more I realize that I am 100% not qualified to talk on that, and I don't. It's a pet peeve of mine when people talk out of turn in terms of what they know and what they should be talking about. And going back to the whole strengths and specialist thing, you can probably guess why. That is just not my expertise, and I would have to consume probably another 6 months worth of knowledge just on the two to be able to give you guys information that I was comfortable with, that you were getting the best information that you could. However, I will try to find some more resources for you guys and point you guys in the right direction of the experts that you guys can glean some information from. So yeah. Do you guys need anything else from me? Any other questions, concerns, or comments? If not, then I will see you guys, or I will talk to you guys next Monday at noon. Julia, you're interested in the Lost Boys class? Awesome. I will shoot you a message from the Lost Boys class. Or you can email me later. That's fine. And I'll shoot you a message with my email, and we'll take it from there. And hopefully we can get everyone taken care of. So if you guys don't have anything else for me, I don't have anything else for you. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And we'll see you guys next week.